What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining in on today's episode. Today with me is one of my best friends. His name is Chris Wright. He is a body transformation specialist. He is an absolute legend. He is an absolutely insanely jacked, shredded motherfucker that we go back about 2 years, and we met at an event in London. And then we became a little bit closer as friends in Dubai. So I have Chris with me in Bali today, and I'm very, very excited to delve deep with him. Thank you
wow, what
so
an intro.
much.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
There's so much more I could have used, bro.
Very nice of you. So if you're listening from my podcast, welcome back to the podcast. This actually makes episode 100 today, which is obviously a very special episode to be joined with Damian. And we're just going to generally have a chat today. There's not too much context going into this, but hopefully it brings a lot of value to you guys. And episode 100, baby. What about you? Where are you at?
Episode 20, bro. But the funny thing is, like, episode 20 over like 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've had yours podcast.
Bro, I've not put any effort in, dude. Like, and the thing is, now if you look at the past like 4 episodes, they've all been in the past like 2 months.
Yeah.
So actually, I am like trying to make like a concerted effort to like really build this.
Yeah, I think long form content makes a big difference. Like, I think that like people start to understand you a little bit more, they build more trust. Like, I admit there's been times where I've slapped with the podcast a little bit, but it's got to be done, bro. We've got to keep putting out the content.
I think it's also just an opportunity for like me to shoot the shit
100%
and talk about things that like interest me.
Yeah,
you know?
But I think you talk well on, you know, you can talk a lot, like you talk well on long form content. I think I do as well. It's a skill that I've learned. Some people struggle when it comes to like actually talking for a long period of time, right? They kind of don't know what to say. I prefer long form content like this rather than reels. Like when you have like 30 seconds to try and get your point across, or like 40 seconds, I am scripting a lot of my reels. I don't know about you, because like if I don't script my reels, I just end up talking for too long, and then it just doesn't quite hit the same like punchiness.
Well, I'm a little bit sad that we only have 1 hour. Because like, bro, I can sit here for hours and shoot the shit with you. You know?
Same. Yeah, 100%. But it's a pleasure to be here. I have to say, you know how much I've enjoyed Bali and how good it's been to be here. And you know, you were right. I have to say, you moving here, living the life. I think you made a good decision. So it's a very cool place. And
what do you think of Bali so far, bro?
I love it. Honestly, I mean, it's very similar to when I went to Thailand. There's maybe some advantages here. There's maybe some advantages to being in Thailand. But for me now, I realize really this is what makes me happy. And I think that like there's a lot of almost like cognitive bias in Dubai in terms of like I felt like I was happy or I should be happy, and like I'm almost basing my happiness off, you know, maybe other people's opinions. Whereas like when I compare how much better my mood is here, when I compare it to where I'm in Dubai, like this place for me is exactly where I want to be. And it maybe not for everyone. Like for some people, maybe I feel like I've just been in Dubai for a long time and it's kind of like worn off a little bit. But this is definitely for me like where I'm truly happy. So my plan, I don't even know if I've actually announced this yet, but like I will be moving to Asia next year. So obviously I said to you, like the goal is to go to Thailand. I'm going to spend some time. Yeah, there's a visa they've just released there, so me and Matt will go there. But I'll be back here, 100%, man. Like I love it here, like the life, the weather, the social scene, the gyms, the women.
Dude, it's great, bro. And the thing is, it's not about slagging off Dubai.
No.
Because, you know, if someone asks me about Dubai, I will still stand by it. It is the greatest westernized part of the world.
100%.
Like, dude, things are efficient. It works. People are respectful. It's clean. Like, if you want something at any point throughout the middle of the night, if you want eye drops delivered at 4 o'clock in the fucking morning, they will be there in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But the reason why I left, bro, was I was just so disconnected from everything. Like I had Francois, I had like, you know, a good group of people that I was doing things with. I had goals, you know, I was prepping for an Ironman. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like I went there and I felt like I had nothing, but in terms of the love, soul, connection, vibrant starts to the day, the abundant amount of nature around me.
That's a big thing.
Didn't have that, man. Whereas we've got that here. Life.
It's like the seasons as well. Like Dubai, and again, I don't want to. This isn't literally going to be an hour of slagging off Dubai. I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't move to Dubai. Moving to Dubai and like moving out of the UK was the best thing I ever did. Like, you know, moving the business there, the growth that went into that, my mindset changed, everything changed. Like I had an amazing experience there. But I think you just move on with your life. You realize maybe what's more important, and I think that like this for me now is where I feel like is more base. But I think Dubai, 100%, the efficiency has a lot to offer. But it's just simple things like you say with like the nature and the seasons and like, you know, even when it rains here, I'm like, I'm actually happy.
It's fine.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I like to have that again.
Yeah.
And like, it's the peacefulness as well of being here. I find that I'm more productive. I'm outside more. I think that like the Dubai's got that very dry, deserty heat, whereas like here it's hot, but like it's not uncomfortable. Like it's okay, I find. So I think, you know, some people would probably hate it here that live in Dubai. Everyone's different, but I think it depends what you want in life.
When I moved here, one of the things I struggled with in the beginning was you and I share a passion for running.
Yeah.
And, you know, more aerobic and endurance-based work.
Yeah.
And, you know, in Dubai, everything is geared towards you being able to do these things. Sure, most of it will be indoors.
Yeah.
But there's a community, there's infrastructure, there's like service offerings that cater towards people that want to do this type of work, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here, there isn't really much of an endurance-based, high rocks, Ironman-based, you know, style of training that influences the way gyms are set up, or you know, communities, for example. Communities are more CrossFit-based, or they're more, you know, high-intensity class-based. How have you found training over the past like 2 weeks that you've been here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that is probably one of the only things that I'd say has been a challenge here, the running. And I actually still enjoy running here. Even like I go out in the evenings, I like the temperature, it's okay. But I think like we've mentioned, like the running being outside, like it's very busy. Like when you're running and there's traffic everywhere, like it's actually pretty unsafe. Like I'd be, you know, I probably could have had an accident. Obviously you've got dogs chasing you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potholes. I was running the other day and I literally had like had to like leapfrog something because there was loads of traffic on the right. And anyway, there was like some sort of wire that was like in the way, and I just bolted through it, took it right down. Like I literally just took it down. And all these locals are staring at me like, what is this guy doing? And just said sorry and carried on running. Luckily, the wire didn't just like catapult me back.
Yeah.
But it's just stuff like that. So like,
it's a hazard.
In answer to your question, I think training for like generally enjoying my training and like lifting weights has been amazing. Like I've really enjoyed the gym that I train at. It's really social. So that's been amazing. I've trained pretty much every day, but training for a high rocks, I don't think is fantastic here. Like I did have, again, experience when I was at the gym the other day when like the treadmill just like stopped like twice when I was running at max pace, and like that's not really ideal when you're trying to train for it. But I think that, yeah, maybe there's certain gyms that I haven't seen yet, but like from that perspective, probably not. Like the running here is more of a challenge. But even in Dubai, I'm like, I don't think the running is that great there. Like when you run around the marina twice, like it's just the same shit. Like it's tourists everywhere. You're running around people like 24/7. So I think they both have their advantages, I'd say. But probably Dubai does beat it from a high rocks perspective. But the gyms here are really good. Like I'm very happy with the training here, and I only really trained at 2 gyms, and they've both been really good. But I guess I haven't trained towards an Ironman, so I mean, I can imagine the running for that was pretty hard.
So you've got the air mill. Is it what's it called? The air mill. It's a self-propelled treadmill.
The
skill mill.
Woodway, like
Woodway.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, something like that, right? So that is what I did all of my.
So you ran like 20,
I was doing 21K on one of those.
Wow.
Because a treadmill wasn't enough for me. Like the second that I got onto one of those, I was like, okay, this is what I need to be actually, you know, training myself on, because this is going to emulate much harder conditions for me than being in an air-conditioned room, you know, on something that is automated and I just need to keep up with pace, you know, whereas I need to actually focus on building my pace. And the only way that I could do that was actually on one of these, what is it called?
I mean, I call them in the UK, they're Woodway curves. Like that's what they're called.
It's a curve mill.
It's a curve mill.
Curve mill, that's it, right? And that I was doing outdoors. So for 4 months, I was running between 10 and 21K on a curve mill every second and third day. And
that's crazy.
Dude, crazy. Because I couldn't do any running outdoors here because of potholes, because of dogs, because of trucks. I mean,
I just find you get lost as well. Like I got lost loads of times, ended up running like more than I should have. And like it's cool when you're like here for a couple of weeks and you're just like, but if you're trained, like for you, if you're trained towards something quite like severe like that, like you want to like nail your route and know what you're doing, know when you're like going to hydrate, all this kind of thing. Whereas like that would be a difficult thing from what I've seen in Canggu. For sure.
But at least once I got this training done, I went and did the Ironman. In Thailand. And it couldn't have paid off any better that I made my training a lot harder. I made my training very hard for myself here in terms of, okay, I can't cycle here. So I'm going to spend 3 hours on a stationary bike outdoors. And this was also one of those, what is it called? You get a certain one where you can change the intensity of it. So it's not a normal spinning bike.
Oh,
It's
like a watt bike or something.
watt
like
bike,
that.
right?
Yeah.
So here I was training for an Ironman on a watt bike and a curve mill. Okay, bro. Like, and I did this for like 3 months solid. I think the one thing that I did enjoy with Ironman training in Bali was that, sure, I couldn't really swim in the ocean,
Yeah.
but I could at least swim in something that was a little bit more temperature controlled
Yeah.
in a less hot environment. Like Dubai, I'm on the rooftop of a building and it's 50 degrees outside and I'm cooking, bro.
It's like training in those conditions is just not, it's not possible. Like even I got to a point when I was running like just 5Ks like round the marina. I can't remember, maybe when it was getting closer to summer, and you'd get back and I literally felt like I had heat stroke. It was so bad. Like it was just so difficult compared to running. Even like here or Thailand, I find is better. But like in that Dubai heat in the summer, you can't run outside. Like you just can't. And that thing is a big thing for me as well. Like I feel like Dubai has seasons where like there's certain seasons where you just don't want to be there. And I thought it was just like maybe 3 months. I was like, it's maybe like June, July, August. I'm like, it's like 6 months a year. Yeah. Even like arguably this time around, it's been hot up until like only recently till November. Like October's been hotter than normal. And like that level of heat when you like to be outside and like you like to train outside is hard. It is hard.
This is your first High Rocks.
Yeah.
What would you say are the 3 most important things to focus on when
training for a High Rocks?
That's
a good question. See, I think that like 3 most important things. I think the most important thing is running, 100%. It depends on where you're at, I suppose. Like, it depends on like what your background is. If you're like us, like you're strong, like you've always like lifted weights, you've competed, you've done photo shoots, you've got like muscle, you're athletic, right? So the most important thing when it comes to High Rocks is running, because you're running 8K, which is a lot, but you're also running 8K with like compromised legs where you've just done like, loads of like lunges or wall balls or sled push. So your legs are really fatigued and then you've got to run on them. So for me, that is my entire like training has been based around that. Like not in an arrogant way, but like with the events that we're doing alongside it, obviously I'm doing it with Matt. So it's very much like split between the two of us. We share the events, we share the load. For us to do like, a sled push of, I can't remember the distance, like 50 meters, 100 meters between 2 people. Like we're not going to struggle with that. Like one goes, the other one pushes. It's the same with like the row. Like, one of us can go for it, the other one comes in. So like for doubles, I don't think the events are like going to be that much of a challenge. But the running is like the most important thing because like that's where you've got to be hitting good splits. And like if you're not a competent runner, like you're just going to slow yourself down massively. Because if we can run 8K in like all under 4-minute intervals, like we should easily get under an hour, like realistically. When we did a sim, we got under an hour, but I just, we don't know if that's 100% accurate. So I say number one, running. Like if you're not a great runner, like get good at running. And that's like do a lot of like tempo runs, like really focus on that. I think if you're not particularly strong, but maybe you're a runner, then like you need to obviously get good at like a lot of the strength and conditioning stuff. So like you put like your sled push, your sled pulls, your wall balls. I'm rubbish at wall balls, so that's one thing I think that takes a lot of work. I think maybe the third thing is like just still do your zone 2s, right? I've always neglected these. I don't know if it's the same for you, but like I've always wanted to like fully send it every time I run and like fully go for it and push my like heart rate up really high. Whereas like that like zone 2 work where you're like, in a good place to actually adapt from an aerobic standpoint is important. So like I wouldn't neglect that as well. Like I've still done like, 10Ks, 12K runs like in quite a slow tempo to just build that aerobic stamina as well. So I think it's a bit of a mix of things really. It is a hybrid event, so you have to be well-rounded to be able to do well with it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I don't think me and Matt have been super strict with the training. Like we've kind of done it ourselves. We've set things up. Like Matt's done a lot of running, and we're not going to wing it because like we have trained towards it, but like we somewhat haven't maybe like done really specific training for it. Because we wanted to enjoy our training a lot as well, I think, and like that's why we decided to do it the way that we have. So time will tell. I mean, we've still got like 5 weeks, then we're off to Sweden, and we'll see how it goes. So it's going to be interesting. And then maybe even after that, I meant to have a team photo shoot. I think you've done the same before, right?
I did this, bro.
Yeah. And I'm like, do you know what? Like, there might be a spot there to do it, and I'm just going to do it because like I want to like show people that like you can be in good shape, you can do a shoot, you can do a high rocks, you can do a run, like you can have everything. Like you can be fit, you can be strong, you can be aesthetic.
Yeah.
So if I do a photo shoot a week later, I'm showing exactly what I want to showcase with my clients, and like you can be lean, photo shoot lean all year round, and you can also like run a high rocks and do an 8K and stuff. So I'm gonna see. Obviously, we've got a lot of clients that are doing it, but that's something that I've decided potentially as well. And then it's Christmas, so we'll chill out, eat some food, do the good shit.
Yeah, this falls in with like the ethos of the all-round athlete program, and what I do right is looking, feeling, and performing.
100%.
Because I think you and I can both definitely validate and vouch for the fact that it is possible.
Yeah.
To stay in shape all year round, to still take on high levels of endurance and athleticism and training in the gym, and like being flexible at the same time when it comes to nutrition and going on holiday, etc. Like
100%.
these are all things that are possible, right? Like there's no reason why one can, for example, go on holiday and not still train. There's no reason why you can take a little bit of time off and still make sure that your nutrition is
exactly that
a priority for you. You know?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And one thing that you mentioned there, which is what you just done, which what you're planning to do, which is what I did, was the photo shoot and an Ironman in the space of 1 week.
When you say it, it's like crazy. You're like, that's just like not healthy, but
I did the photo shoot just before the Ironman.
I actually remember you doing that.
Doing the Ironman, dude. Doing the Ironman would have been so much better if I did it before, because then I was so depleted afterwards. I was shredded to the bone.
Yeah.
Right? But instead, I was depleted just before doing an Ironman. Bro, I'd been low carbing for like 7 weeks, dude.
Yeah.
And this was at the same time where I was having to go and do 100K on a bike, and having to go do 26K runs and do sprints and do 2 swims, 2 cycles, 2 runs every week with 3 weight training sessions. And here I am low carbing myself on 100 grams of carbs a day.
I do remember you doing that, and you were like shredded like a week out from the...
But it worked out. That's the thing. And it came down to the fundamentals of sleep and recovery, hydration and stress management, making sure I'm getting nutrient-dense foods, provided that I'm ticking boxes and I'm not complicating things here. I'm actually just doing the bare essentials and the basics. I was able to go and get into the best shape of my life. I think that was probably the most shredded I've been for a photo shoot naturally, without any performance enhancing drugs. And then not even a week later, 4 days later, to go and do a half Ironman in the Pyrenees Mountains, which is where they do the Tour de France. It's one of the hardest half Ironmans in the world. And I think I kind of finished that off and I was like, yeah, it's possible. And that gave me this really big amount of energy in my business to be able to help people achieve that.
100%.
And so that's now become the ethos, is look, feel, and perform like an athlete all year round.
That's very, I think we share that, because I think we both have a very similar ethos, because like what we do is very much about lean 365. So like we want our clients to be lean, we want them to be fit, we want them to be strong. But like you say, we want the flexibility as well. Like I hate the idea of, and I've made the mistake with this, so I can talk from experience, like of getting in good shape and then like falling off completely and like ruining all your hard work. Like the last time I competed, never will compete again. Never say never. But like that's when I ruined like my physique pretty badly. Like I dieted for like 12 weeks, so I looked very lean. And then that was the first time I really experienced like reverse dieting and all that kind of thing really. And I got it so badly wrong that I gained weight very quickly. No one would look at me and think I was out of shape. But for myself, having gained like a stone in like 2 weeks, I was like, geez, like that's not...
How much is a stone?
I mean, like 7 kilos.
7
right?
kilos,
in 2 weeks.
Dude.
Yeah, I still had like the top of my abs, but my face that's extremely bloated, unhealthy, like
watery.
Just watery. Yeah, even to the point where like my PT clients, one of my PT clients, I remember in particular, was like coming to my session, and she was like, "Whoa, like your face is quite fat." I was like,
"Oh wow,
jeez." I was like, "That just shot me right down." I was like, something needs to change. But that took a while to get out of that, and then I did. And then like since then, I've really wanted to understand like what needs to happen to stay in shape, and like how to work through that bit after the diet, how to remain in good shape, and like you say, how to enjoy life at the same time. Like you, I try and like show to my clients, to my audience, like my content, like I show balance. Like I try and show on my story that I go out, I try and show that I drink, show that I eat nice food, but I also show that I train. Like I show the balance in all those things, and like that's why I do that, because like I want people to realize that you can really enjoy yourself, you can travel to nice places, you can have an amazing life, but you can also look really good. Like you can enjoy your best life with your best body. And like people say, oh, can you sustain a six pack all year round? Can you sustain abs? Like, yes, you can. Like you, I mean, I've
done it for 15
you've
years,
always
bro.
been lean, all the time. And like it's the same with me. Like, but I wouldn't say that we've lived a compromised life. And to some people's standards, maybe, but like we've enjoyed our lives at the same time. You live in a place like this, like I'm in Dubai. I've obviously traveled, and like we eat out, we do nice things. I still drink, like, and that's the thing. People need to realize that they can do that. And they can perform well, and they can be fit, and they can be strong. And like when it comes to fitness, you want to have everything. I think being diverse and having like all these things. And like I had done a podcast before with one of my friends, Simon, this marine dude, ex-marine, and his philosophy is like be hard to kill. And I'm like, that is exactly how I see fitness. Like you want to have all the skills to make yourself solid in all those areas of life, so you can run away. You know, you are fit, you're strong, you're fast. Like all these different skills, and I think that's what fitness should be about. And I know that like that's since I've known you, like I say, that you've always been in shape here around.
Yeah.
So I know that probably a lot of the traits that you've got maybe are similar to mine. Like your nutrition, again, I know is very good. You train regularly. You probably don't feel like you make a massive effort to sustain low body fat, do you? Like
I don't make any effort.
No.
Bro, I don't
habits.
make any effort.
Yeah.
I don't make any effort. Like when I say that, I'm not tracking to the fucking calorie and to the gram. Do you know why? Because I've done it for long enough.
Exactly.
I put
So
in the
I
work.
always
I
explain to
put in
people.
the work in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I didn't just put in the work for a 3-month period.
Years.
I put in the work for years,
Fuck yeah,
bro.
100%.
Like that was.
People want things too quickly.
This people think, oh well, you know, can I do 90 days with you? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like I don't do 90 days because
Yeah.
90 days is not near enough for you to learn the structures, habits, and routines
100%.
to get this shit right.
Yeah.
You know, if I go and eat a pizza, you and I can laugh about this.
Yeah.
We do laugh about it.
Yeah.
You and I can sit there together and have 2 pizzas between both of us. We can order some nasi goreng, some rice, this and that, and we can laugh that we're going to wake up more shredded tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Okay?
100%.
100%. You know why? Because we train hard.
Yeah.
We have a high step count.
Yeah.
We're drinking enough water. We're getting enough sleep.
And we have a lot of muscle. Like we've
number one.
spent years building tissue. Like that is the most important thing. Like if you want a long-term fat loss like mechanism, like build muscle.
Build
like
muscle.
you are not gonna you're not gonna run your way to a 6-pack or like keep the 6-pack by doing loads of cardio. That doesn't happen. Like you have to build muscle. And this is the thing, like I think I did a post about this recently, but balance is something that you earn. Like you don't just get balance at the start, right? You don't just literally start a fat loss phase and want to go out and do all these nice things. Like you have to make sacrifices at first. 12 weeks, you know, maybe even 6 months, maybe 12 months, depends how much body fat you got to lose. But you do that shit so that in the future, like it's that like delayed gratification. You can enjoy life. Like that's the thing, but you don't get that straight away. And like when you've built enough muscle, you've been through a gaining phase, you've got the right habits, like you say, you've nailed a lot of these like foundational things. Like it's easy. It's effortless.
Yeah.
It is effortless. Like even when I got injured badly, like, and obviously I tore my pec and then my leg was screwed as well because they took the tendon out. I just couldn't walk. Like, but like even for that 6-week period, like where I was literally able to do nothing, and that was really challenging for me. Like I lost a bit of muscle, but I still sustained a 6-pack. I still looked lean.
And you weren't a soft cock saying, I've got a shoulder or chest injury, now I'm not going to train.
100%.
Right?
I did what I could.
This is something that I've picked up a lot where someone says, I need to take some time off because of my shoulder injury. I'm like, you fucking snowflake.
Yeah.
Okay, you have got legs, you've got calves, you've got
100%.
abs, you've got every other part. You've also got your nutrition, which is lacking at the same time.
Which we know is the most important thing anyway. Like
you can build muscle or drop fat and still not be training with high amounts of volume.
100%.
Right? And I think this is one thing that most people really scapegoat to is the second that there's like something wrong, all of a sudden now it's like all the tools out the box, you know, but there's still so many different fundamentals, and this is why I call it the all-rounder athlete program, because there's an all-rounded approach. If you're not training your chest, okay, cool, bro, there's still another like 3-4 major muscle groups that you can still train. You know, if you have that time because you're not training, focus on your nutrition, focus on high amounts of output, focus on prepping your food in advance. 100%. There's so many different things that one can focus on. But the second that it's, I've got an injury, all of a sudden now, like, that's it, I can't do anything.
Game over, yeah. That's like anyone who's in shape year round, anyone who's lean year round, like they don't make that excuses. Like any like high performing individual does not make excuses that they can't train because they've got like a certain problem. And like
it's how can I train?
It's how can I train? Yeah, 100%. That is the trait that like, you know, like me and you, like anyone who is consistently in shape will always find a way to do it. It's having that like resilient mindset, right? Where you will find a way, being resourceful. Like that's what it comes down to. Like finding ways to do certain things. And I think a lot of people don't have that. And even putting that to one side, like for me, like the training, it's not about the physical side of things. Like I could not train. I didn't train for 6 weeks. I didn't look that different. To the average person that looked at me, they probably wouldn't tell much difference. But
I just don't think anyone told you, bro.
yeah, maybe not. Maybe I got really skinny and like people. Luckily, I wasn't going out. I was just living with my mum, so it didn't really make a difference. But the thing is, as well, is that like the training, it's not just about being like physically fit, it's the mental side of things, right? Like how much better do you feel when you train hard and exercise hard? Like when you run, like that runner's high, that endorphin that you get is like unmatched. Like you get back from run and you feel incredible. Anytime that I've like got stressed, whether that's from like work or just something in my life, like, you know, that's just frustrated me at the time, like, you know, like I'll go for a run and come back and I'll feel so much better. Like my mood is completely changed. Like I get on with things. So that's the way that exercise has to be looked at sometimes. Like we want to see it beyond the just physical, like, oh, I can't, you know, I've injured myself, I can't train today. Like go and do some cardio, you'll feel way better. Like always trying to like, explain this to people.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's the most important thing.
There's a lot of coaches out there that say staying in shape throughout the entire year is not sustainable. It's not possible to, you know, and this comes from coaches that, let's say, have done a show or a photo shoot, and there's been some rebound involved, and maybe they lack the tools and the knowledge to be able to sustain that current conditioning, right? So what would you have to say on that? You know, what's your opinion?
Trying to think how to,
because you and I have privately
podcast without going all in and shaming people.
We've
badly.
privately discussed this, you know, and I think it is important that not necessarily a coach.
People need to hear it.
But I think we need to be honest.
It's a podcast, our podcast, so we can say what we want. So I'll be very concise with this, but I think like to be a coach and not be in shape is a complete disgrace. Like I think it's a criminal
100%
offense.
agree
like,
with you.
So bad that like I can't even believe that it's allowed to be a thing, that you are allowed to coach someone on their health and not be in good shape. Because like you wouldn't go to a dentist that had crooked teeth, right? You wouldn't go to a financial advisor that was broke. Like you go to these people because they walk the walk, they talk the talk, they do the thing that you want to do. So if there's a coach that's like got a belly, or like, you know, they've, like you say, they've been shredded once and they gained all the weight back, like that is not an example to what you should want to be like. So I think it's awful, and I think anyone who makes excuses about that, and they don't have the knowledge to be able to coach people the way that, you know, clearly that we can and lots of other coaches do. Think that, and I say this again, like in fact, no, every successful coach that I know, and I'm sure the same with you, that has a good business is in like incredible shape, good shape, like all the time. And it doesn't even matter if they're like bulking or cutting, they are in good shape. Like, and that's, you know, that goes a long way to see, like, it just shows you like why it's so important. And I think if you can't look after yourself, then like you can't take some accountability for someone else's health as well. So it's something I feel very strongly about, and like that's why for me my biggest value is being in shape.
Being in shape,
is eating well. Like I always want to show that to people. Like I always want to show people that I sustain, no matter what I do, I always sustain the way that I look, and like even through adversity, I still look the way that I do. Because like if I didn't do that, I think my clients would just like they'd laugh at me. I'd be a joker to my clients. Even like if I take on a coach. See, like with Matt and stuff, like they are not in good shape. That angers me. Like never happened before. But like if Matt like let himself go, I'd be like, mate, you need to get your shit together. You're not setting a good example to our clients. You need to be in good shape. I don't think like being in shape, obviously, like it's subjective, right? But like I think it depends on this, maybe like who you coach. For us, like you as well, like I know you work with a lot of guys that do photo shoots, and like we've mentioned obviously the type of like almost like philosophy that we have and stuff like that. So like for me, like I don't just need to be in good shape. I need to be like shredded.
In great shape. That's what you do. That's 100%. How you help people.
Same as Matt. Yeah, exactly. Like we are like Lean 365. We coach high performing men and women. Like we need to be in like elite level shape all year round. None of this like dirty bulk and like, oh, I'm just, you know, a bit flabby now because I've done a dirty bulk. None of that shit.
None of that shit. Yeah.
Being in like elite level shape so that my clients look at me all the time and like, fuck yeah, like I want to look like Chris. Like I want to look like him. He's in great shape. He enjoys his life at the same time. Same with Matt.
Yeah.
So I think that like, you know, for some guys that or girls that coach maybe like beginners that don't want to be shredded, there might be an argument for that. But they still need to be fucking healthy. Like, you know, I've been to gyms before and there's like, you know, delivery guys coming to the door with like McDonald's and stuff. I'm like, dude,
does
like,
my fucking head in, bro.
I'm like, that's like, even if you're not shredded, like fine, don't have a six pack. I personally think most coaches should have abs. Maybe that's a bit too far. But like, if you can't even be healthy, like you're in the wrong industry.
For sure.
Done.
100%. done.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
So I guess your view is pretty much the same.
Dude, yeah, look,
maybe not as
so
extreme.
from a coaching perspective, okay, so twofold. Yes, 100% agree. I think you need to be in the best shape possible for your clients, to inspire them, to motivate them, to attract new clients, to show them that you know what you're doing. If you can't do it with yourself, the likelihood is that you can't make, if it's not sustainable for you and you cannot sustain a good physique and a healthy routine and good balance structure, stress management, these are things that I can validate for you, knowing you, is that you walk the walk, you talk the talk. And that's because I know you, because I see you do it. I know that you're in good shape, and I know that you are focused, diligent, you do the do because you do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Whereas there's a lot of coaches out there that are giving all of this advice, saying, this is how you should live your life, this is how you should structure your nutrition. But then you look at the person, they're not embodying that. So for me, you can see my blood starts to actually boil a bit when talking about it, because I am also highly passionate about the fact that a coach should be in good shape. 100%. I think it also then transmutes into how you work with clients, right? So one's how your clients see you, but then it's also the relationship that you have with clients and the things that you say to them to keep them on track and on board. A lot of coaches out there will be a bit soft cock in their approach and saying, oh, you fucked up your nutrition this weekend. It's okay. It's not a big deal in the greater scale of things, and you're human, and I 100%. Get that, and I understand. But the thing is, then that's not a results-driven coach.
No, and those coaches don't get results.
Exactly. And I'm not a very black and white person. I do like to obviously identify there is a gray area in the fact that humans make mistakes, humans fall off. Like, that's completely fine. But when the goal and what you're coming to me for is body recomposition, right? You want to get into unbelievable shape, because the people in my marketing, if you look at me, if you look at what led you to the point where you hired me as a coach, that involves holding yourself to a higher standard, to being diligent enough to keep yourself on track, and not just Monday to Friday and then you fuck it up Saturday, Sunday. So I think it also depends on how you communicate with clients there, and actually also really raising the bar and holding a high standard for them and saying, listen, if you want this, that approach doesn't work. You do need to, I think, tick these mandatory boxes, which comes down to really keeping yourself in check. Otherwise, I'm not the coach for you.
Exactly.
That's fine. There's a beginner coach out there that's going to tiptoe around and make you feel okay about those choices. I'm also not abusive. I don't believe in making
it's the balance, right? You have to strike the right balance between that. That's
but
what
you come to me for accountability.
100%. Yeah. It's our duty to to deliver on the result, right? We've got hundreds of results, and I want to make sure that we keep to that standard. And if someone comes to me and they're not listening to me, and they're going out and stuff at the weekends, like you mentioned, there's a balance of not being too stern on someone to give rub off the wrong impression. But at the same time, if someone needs to hear something very straight talking, I will say that to clients, and I'll tell them, I will try and find out. There's always a reason why people don't do something, right? It's human psychology. If they're ignoring instruction, something maybe deeper on is going on. A lot of coaching isn't necessarily about the actual
That's the gray
application,
area.
right? Yeah, exactly. Thing is it's a lot of the principles that we teach are very similar. There's difference. There's probably certain things that we maybe do more of, less of. But I've realized that with coaching, a lot of it is psychology. It's about actually being a people person and being able to talk to different types of people. It's not about what angles someone back squats at and what micronutrients people eat in the morning and stuff. There's certain elements of knowledge that are required, but it's how you communicate. If your clients buy into you and they like you and they really respect you, and you come across as a real high performing person that's got their shit together, they're going to buy into you more, and they're going to stick to you more. That's a lot of the clients that I've had a lot of success with. I know they will look up to me as an authoritative person, so they take things more seriously. So it's all about how we present ourselves as coaches as well. If you're quite introverted, you're quite timid, and that's the sort of person you are. I think it's hard to get that buy-in and respect with people. Depends who you work with. We work with a lot of guys that are doing well with are doing very well with their career, with their business owners, or they're executives, or they've got very good jobs, they're doctors, whatever, right? So for them to take orders off me in my late 20s, takes it's not easy, right? Like there's a little bit of like they have
there's
to
a
buy
bit of
into
friction
that.
at
There's
some
a bit of
point,
friction there. So like I have to come across as like an authoritative person that like is really, you know, got their better interest at heart and has got my shit together.
Yeah.
So that's what it has to be. Like being a coach is like having that like duty to really serve someone properly and provide someone. And like, you know, people know that like I'm only doing it for out of their best heart. Like if I have to say something to someone because they're not performing the way they need to, like they know that I've got their best intentions at heart.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about being a coach. Like that's why I've recently got myself back into coaching. Like you know, as things started to scale a little bit, obviously I took on my brother, I took on another coach, Owen, and then like I took a bit of a backseat from coaching, and like I realized that like I actually got into the industry because I love coaching. Like, I love helping people. I love getting people amazing results. So for me now, like I'm actually getting back into the trenches and like actually starting to work with one-to-one clients again, and like I'm actually loving it. Like it's exciting me. Obviously, we've got our next shoot coming up, and like it's exactly what I want to do. And like that's, you know, that's another thing that going back to what we talked about with Dubai and stuff. Like, not to go off topic, but almost like that gets you very much into the kind of like I need to build a business, and I need to like, you know, delegate everything. I need to come away from doing all this and like just do what you actually enjoy doing. Like I'd like coaching. I want to coach 50 clients. I don't want to coach like 10 clients and, you know, have all my coaches do it. So I think like it's understanding that as well, and being a good coach is like it's the most important thing. Like you're not going to build a good business if you're not a good coach and you don't get like elite level results, like incredible results. And then, you know, I've seen obviously you do the same, and that's why we've built the business that we have, because we pride ourselves on that. It doesn't matter about like the marketing tactics and the sales tactics and stuff. It's like just be a fucking good coach. You're never gonna have to worry about bringing in clients because like you have a reputation, and like that's one thing that we've done at FitLab repeatedly again, and it's the same with you. Yeah.
I think one thing that also makes you a great coach and myself a great coach and quite a few others is committing to things that are also bigger than ourselves, right? Like a high rocks and a photo shoot and doing marathons. You and I obviously ran a half marathon last year together. You know, it's actually embodying that, because you cannot expect people to be doing these things when you haven't done it and you haven't been, 100%. As you say, been in the trenches. I know that the term gets like thrown around a lot, but the reality is it's more so leading from the front. You know, and showing that, okay, cool. Firstly, you can do it, right? So there's buy-in there, but also knowing that you've done it, then you know how to do it. So I know you can help me do that. And I think that's why every 6 months I'm doing an Ironman, because then I get onto a call with a client of mine and I'm like, hey, dude, have you thought about doing an Ironman? And then the seed is planted.
Exactly.
Great.
And they know that you can help them do it as well. Like it makes you a better coach. It means you can work with more clients. Like I don't know how anyone can coach someone to do something they haven't done. Like I know coaches that have never done a photo shoot and they're prepping guys for photo shoots. I'm like, how can you relate to someone that is trying to get their body fat to sub 10% when you've never been there? Like that is hard. If it's hard, you're hungry, you've got no energy, you've got no sex drive. Like it is a hard process. So if you've not experienced what that's like, you are not going to be able to help someone achieve that. And like, that's why being a coach and doing these things, like you say, constantly setting new goals, new barriers, new heights is so important. Like with the high rocks, it's already like myself and Matt, we started to get more clients interested. I took on a client recently who's got like a high rocks type event in April. I'm like, amazing. Like I've been training for one, you know, I've not done it yet, but I've got very good ability of how to set this up. I'm obviously got one coming up very soon. We'll smash that. You know, it's the same with a lot of our clients. They come in, they want to run their first 5K under 20 minutes. You know, they want to do their first 10K. It's like, I've done that. I know what that feels like. Doing a sub 20-minute 5K is fucking hard. Like every time I do it, I'm absolutely fucked. Like I know what that feels like. So it's about being able to actually like talk from experience of doing these things. Like I would never ask someone to do something that I've never done before. Never. I would never like put calories to a place or like get someone to do more cardio than what I've never done before. Actually, that's a slight lie.
Would you go to 1,200 calories?
I time myself in knots then. It's relation to body weight, right? Like
that would be like 1,500 for you.
I've probably done 1,200 calories before. Like I can't even remember, but like I used to have a coach that was a terrible coach. But like he prepped me. It wasn't even towards a shoot. It was towards like going to like Malia and getting shredded.
Is this maybe the worst dieting experience you've had before?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. This was like a very long time ago, and all I wanted to do was be lean for a holiday, like shredded for a holiday in Malia, right? So anyway, like he put me on ridiculously low calories. Now I probably was about 80 kilos then, so I was not skinny by any means at all. And like I remember, like he literally had days where it was like 0 carb. It was like, in fact, I think the only carbs like a couple of rice cakes with some like cottage cheese or something. So I don't remember the breakdown, but those days were like horrific. I remember like when like Matt came through the door after the gym, and I was like on the sofa, like dead, like a zombie, like absolutely sunk down. He's like, "You're right." I was like, "Yeah." I'm just like, I'm just like malnourished. Like I've got no energy. Like I'm on like no calories. He was like,
starving African
okay,
child, bro.
yeah.
Terrible.
So like obviously, yeah, I kind of from experience, I've experienced low calories.
Yeah.
I've experienced what it's like to be on no food. So you can talk from that.
What would you say is 2 protocols? One can be in a big calorie deficit from output. One can be in a big calorie deficit from minusing food from their maintenance, right? So being in a big deficit through nutrition or big deficit through training, right? Would you say that they're the exact same? Or would you say one would be worse than the other to follow?
It's a good question. So like,
because the deficit remains the same.
The deficit remains the same, right? So like, yeah, like theoretically they're going to lose the same amount of body fat. If we're in, for 3,500 calories across the week, that's like a pound of fat, right? So that would be the same. But I would always favor like trying to push output higher. Like I think that like food, we want to try and keep as much food in the diet as possible. Yeah. And this is something I learned recently as well. One of the seminars I went to for like coaching. And it was like, we want to keep food high because food fuels performance, right? So like, if we've got a complete lack of carbs, if we've got, less fat to be able to like hormone function is going to drop a little bit, right? So like, we want to make sure we keep calories as high as possible. Obviously, there's a certain limit to that. You can't have them too high because you're not going to lose body fat. But I would try and like push activity up more. I would try and get someone to walk more, to do more steps. I think that's obviously like one of the easiest ways to get more calories burnt across the day. And then I would try and plug into cardio more. Like if people have got time to do 20 minutes on the stepper, I would start pushing that up a little bit more, maybe even to 30, like, start gradually tapering that up a little bit. So I think food is probably the last thing that I would pull down, but over time it has to go. Like realistically, when I'm looking at making changes for clients, like I will normally try and alter activity, but there's a time where like, okay, cool, we're gonna have to take 100 calories off, or maybe we're gonna have to go and bring a low carb day on this day. Because like to reach like that level that you want to get to in terms of body fat, we have to bring food down at some point. But I think if we can help it, we want to aim to keep food higher because we know that food is fuel performance. We know like when we're not eating food, I can't train. I don't want to train. Like I feel, I don't feel as good. So I think we want to aim to keep it higher, so that over time, we're able to put it if we need to. Essentially, I guess, is that the same for you? Would you
same for me, bro? 100%. I would the amount of times I get asked by clients, okay, well, should I just maybe minus a little bit more, calories, or maybe we should drop the carbs. That's the famous one, right? It's like
it's always carbs, yeah.
Why is it? It's like, okay, but even if we drop the carbs, you're gonna lose water first. You're not gonna. It's not the method to just dropping fat. It's just dropping carbs, but. I would say my approach to an aggressive deficit, let's say 3,500, 1 kilo per week. That can be sustained for quite some time. Firstly, you can actually sustain dropping a kilo a week for even maybe 20 weeks. It's totally possible to drop that amount of weight in even maybe a shorter amount of time, right? Obviously, the 3,500 is based on dropping a kilo. You can obviously then maybe even double that up if you really wanted to through nutrition and training, depending on maybe how big you are, right? I think the more body fat you have, the bigger you're starting off, it comes off a lot quicker, so you can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. There's a little bit more stored fuel as energy. But my most important thing is actually trying to feed clients more food. 100%. If anything, when they say, you know what, Damian, can we maybe just drop the calories so we can speed this up? I'm like, to be honest, I actually want to give you more food. So we're going to actually keep this deficit, but on training days, I'm going to give you a little bit more, actually. And then they see that actually the weight comes off even faster when you start to work slowly up towards maintenance. If, let's say, things are on a low day and a high day. But, I mean, obviously, it's very subjective at the end
sometimes,
of the day.
I mean, 100%, because, like, neat's sometimes higher, right? Like, if we give... What
is neat?
Non-exercise.
You don't have to explain it to me, bro.
Okay, so for the listeners, non-exercise activity thermogenesis is basically like everything that we do that's not classed as exercise. So obviously this is the biggest one. Steps, like people, steps is a weird one because like technically if you go and do a planned walk, Does that count as NEAT? I've always been told different things.
Well, I mean, would walking from the car to the office count as like your steps?
This is it. I for like making it very easy for listeners purposes, like NEAT is the class is your step count. So the amount of steps you do across the day is your NEAT. So everything that we do that's not exercise orientated, so not going to the gym, and like if you eat more calories and like you obviously use things like caffeine as well, like thermogenic. Thank you. Basically, like you're gonna fidget more, right? So you're actually going to increase your NEAT because you're just naturally just going to be like those people that we always say like, my mate's got a really high metabolism, he's always really skinny. It's like because he probably just fidgets. Like watch him, he'll probably just sit there and move. Can't stop moving. So like if we keep calories higher and we use things like caffeine, like we are going to have a higher NEAT. Whereas if you just drop calories super low, you just don't want to fucking move. Like your body is telling you not to go and do steps. You're on the sofa. You can't be bothered. You're completely lacking like any ability.
And you're
to
most
go
likely
and move.
not building any muscle.
Exactly. So like just like completely zapping someone's calories, it's a terrible idea. Like we want to keep calories high, have lots of energy. Yes, there's gonna be some days where you're not gonna feel great. You're in a calorie deficit, but if we can try and eradicate that as much as possible, you're still gonna feel good, and you're gonna get your steps in. You're gonna have more energy. You're going to move around more. You're going to have more energy to go in the gym. You probably, even though that we don't burn lots of calories in training, you're going to burn more if you've got more energy. Like you're naturally just going to put a bit more effort into your training, which is going to lead to slightly more calories being burnt. So it all adds up.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't think starving anyone is worth it. No. Unless like it's just absolutely necessary. Like I don't know what your views are on this, but like if you've got a client that is really wanting to do a photo shoot, and they're like really bought into it, but they still got quite a lot to get off, and they know they've got quite a lot to get off, but they're really like, they'll do anything you ask them to do because they want the goal so much. That's when it's like, okay, like we might have to take a very aggressive approach here. And like there's clients where like I've pulled them to very low calories. We've completely got rid of carbs, but they're willing to stick to it. And I'm like, this is temporary. It's not forever. You just have to follow this for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it is till we get to the shoot. It's got to be hard. I'm not going to lie. You're not eating much food. But it's worth it. You will get the abs. You look as good as you want to do on the day. And then if you help them fix their metabolism afterwards, well, it's fine. Like if you control the reverse diet and you don't leave them like fucked afterwards, it's not too much of a problem. So I think it's relative to the person. It's always relative to the person, the goal, the aggressiveness of the goal, when they need to be in shape by. But ideally, for most people, we want to try and take it as like nice,
moderate
as
and conservative as possible. And
exactly.
work on a longer time frame.
Exactly.
I'll always be honest with clients. If let's say there was a day, place, and time that we did decide, great, this is where we want to get to the leanest, I'm always going to pull a month before that and say, hey, listen, just based on where we're at the moment, and where we're at the moment is also based on, have you fucked up over the past couple weeks?
Yeah.
Right. Let's also take accountability here. Instead of saying we're not where we should have been, it's we're not where we should have been because of X, Y, and Z.
100%.
Right. As long as you can also identify these things, because anatomically, a deficit is going to work.
Exactly.
Right. So no matter how many times you can say, let me save myself here from anyone who's going to crucify me for saying my metabolism is fucked. It's my thyroid. My hormones are out of shape. 100% they have an effect, right? But that's one of like 6 or 7 factors that actually are going to influence your body composition and recomposition, right? There's still so many other things that influence that, but generally from a weight loss perspective, the calorie deficit is about 99.999% effective.
Like there is a thing called like metabolic adaptation where your metabolism does adapt to a deficit.
If you've been in a deficit for a long enough time.
But it's marginal. Like it's not. It will make a small difference.
You're not all of a sudden going to pick up 3 kilos.
100%. Like let's
on the weekend.
Not be too crude, but like let's look at like the concentration camps like with back in the day. And I don't want to like go into too much detail, but those guys they're skinny. Like they've got nothing left because they were starved. There was a study that was quite shortly after that, actually. I think it was in Minnesota. It's a very, very famous study. I can't remember the year. Minnesota starvation study. And like they basically wanted to test what is it like to starve. Like generally, like is like metabolic adaptation a really big thing? Yeah. So they literally tested guys, and it was a very brutal study. Like, and they put them in a huge deficit, and they got them to work all day and move around all day. And a lot of the guys, like I think they might have left, or I can't remember exactly what happened, but they tested a lot of these guys, and the guys that made it through to the end, they had lost so much weight. They were sticks. They were absolutely skinny as hell. because they were in a controlled deficit. They couldn't cheat. There was no like, oh, it's McDonald's. I'll just order a Deliveroo. I'll go get some cookies and not tell Damian. Like they had to stick to it, and they were doing labour all day. They moved around, and they lost everything. Their metabolisms, their metabolisms would have dropped a lot, of course. Like their bodies wanted to keep them alive, but they had no body fat left.
Yeah.
And that just
their
goes to
output
show
was high.
their output was high,
and their intake was
it
lower.
was tiny. Yeah. I think it was like I would say tiny. I think it was like 1,600 calories from what I remember, but maybe less than that. But consistently every day, no refeed, 1,600 calories every single day, and like 20k steps. That's a huge deficit, right? So they drop loads of weight, and like that's why I try and explain to people anytime they're like, oh, I just metabolism, or like I can't lose any more weight, I'm in a calorie deficit. Like I don't quote this study and be like, this is what happened, but like we know for a fact that is not the case. There might be certain cards to play, but like you are still going to lose weight. Like your metabolism is not fucked. Like you just need to maybe get a bit better at tracking, maybe be a bit better at the weekends. But over time, people build up this real like fatigue in their diet, right? Like they first few weeks fine, maybe even the first few months, but like when you get to that getting that last bit off, and people have been doing it for a long time, it becomes a bit samey, because we know that dieting is very similar. They get to that like period where like they build this like fatigue up, where like tracking is off, they're not as accurate, they're not meticulous, they're forgetting to weigh food.
More intuitive.
Exactly. They go into the fridge and they like grab it. I do this, so I'm talking from experience again. Like I'll go into the fridge at like night and I dark chocolate. I'm a thing for dark chocolate, but like it's in my fridge. I open the fridge and like just see the dark chocolate, and like fuck it, I just have a chunk
and it's finished
every night. But like
3
even
times
if I just
a day,
have the chunk, I'm like, 3 times a day sometimes. I did it this morning after my breakfast. I was like, I'm just gonna have a little bit of that. And you do that, and like you do it like sometimes you do it subconsciously, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll just have a little bit, that'll be fine. And then like you get to the end of the day, and you've done that maybe a few times, and that deficit you thought you might have had it's not there.
But the difference between you and the Gen Pop, or even the people that we work with, is that you're sitting with 3 times more muscle.
Exactly.
Right? Which then goes back to our first point that we made at this episode, is that I think the key to building a world-class physique, of course, is dropping body fat, but the main goal should always be to build muscle tissue. Now, if you are thinking of putting yourself in a major calorie deficit and at the same time expecting maximum return on building muscle tissue, that's already where there's an issue, right? Because body recomposition is either maintaining or building slightly, but predominantly focusing on dropping body fat, right? Because you're not optimizing a muscle building process when you're in a calorie deficit. So I think that's where you can get away with flexibility down the line, for sure, when, let's say, you have built a lot more tissue.
100%. Like you want to be in a calorie deficit for like as minimal time as you can. Like for anyone who's starting their fitness journey, like you do not want to be spending a long time trying to lose body fat. It is not going to be the most fun process, and you do have to be more careful. You have to be more accurate. You have to be more meticulous. You can't get away with stuff as much. So like when we want to get that done, and then as soon as we've got that process done, we can get our calories higher, and then we can enjoy more of a life, and like we can get away with having a bit of dark chocolate every now and then. Like you say, like I have a dark chocolate, I wake up the next day, I won't fucking like any different at all, like leaner. Like it's
shredded,
exactly,
like you're just more vascular.
It makes no difference, exactly. So like we want to get to the point, we always try and get our guys specifically, we aim to get them up to at least 3,000 calories a day, women 2,000, like, and that's after they've got lean. So they're lean, and then we're like, right,
and
now,
then they're at maintenance.
We're maintenance. We're like, now we're going to get to 3,000 or 3,500. I had a guy that like, literally, I think he was like 68 kilos or something like that, shredded, quite short. We got him up to like 4,000 calories, and he still wasn't gaining weight. And he was like,
and he's still hungry.
He was like, Chris, how is this possible? I'm like, you're like, we've got to a really good place with your metabolism. We've slowly increased food. Like we've changed your body set point. Your body's like responding really well. Your hormones are in a great place. Like you obviously got quite a high output, which is great. So you can eat all this food. You don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to track. You can just have, the good intuitive habits that you've had, and you can pretty much relax. So 100%, like in answer to your point, like the ability to stay in shape is through building muscle. It's not losing body fat. It's not being in a calorie deficit. Like that's not going to keep you in shape. It has to happen, but it's not going to keep you there. Like to be lean 365, like all-round athlete, like you have to build muscle, and you have to build probably at least, like for a guy, I'd say around 20 pounds, depending on where they're starting from. Women, it's different, maybe like 10 pounds, like depends, but.
And that takes time.
Takes time, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years.
2 years.
I mean, I've probably spent like 5 years in a surplus, maybe. I don't know, like if I was to take a guess, maybe something like that. So like it takes time, but it's worth it. Like I'm at the stage now, probably like you, where I don't want to build any more muscle. Like maybe there's certain areas that I might want to work on a little bit, but like I'm not that bothered about building muscle like you. Like very much around like
Performance
being
based.
fit, performance. I want to be able to run. I want to be able to box off endurance events and stuff like that. So me now building more muscle is actually not conducive.
Do you think that's an age thing?
That's a good question. I think that like
For us, because I know in my early 20s, I was all about
jacked.
like just jacked.
Yeah.
Just jacked. Then the second
It's
I
maturity, I think
I got to like near 30. Then I was like, okay, no, I kind of want to, I'm over that now. You know?
I think we both like
I just think I just did a lot of
transitioned at a very similar time,
I
didn't
just
we?
did a lot of damage to my body with fucking steroids, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality.
When
of
you
it.
competed a lot.
When I competed, my last show was in 2016, which was Body Power, and I won that. And then, bro, my body was just wrecked, bro. And I came off the gear, and like I lost everything. I lost like 15 kilos, bro. I even entered a transformation challenge, bro. Here's me winning Body Power, and then like 2 months later, here's me holding a newspaper, standing on a scale with fuck all muscle tone. And that's when I was like, yeah, no, we're done. Like, that's it. And it put me in a bit of a deep place for a couple of years, bro, you know.
What's like your advice now when it comes to like people wanting to like, do you feel like people need to take anabolics to get in shape? Do you feel like would you always talk against that now? Like,
no, I think there's a part of me that I can actually sit here right now and say there will be a time and a place again in the future for me to maybe not look at PEDs, but performance enhancing drugs, but maybe HRTs and testosterone replacement therapies. Let's say once I hit that 45, maybe 40, 45, you know, HGH.
I want to feel good.
Peptides, that's the thing. I'm all for that because I know of its benefits. I know of its longevity benefits, etc. But I think to comment on, let's say, the 21 to 25, actually not even 21, we're talking like 16 years old, bro. There's some fucking kids out there that are doing Anavar, Winstrol, Test, Sustanon, Deca,
Psalms or something like that.
Psalms, Clen, Tren, fucking all the goodies, okay? And they have no idea. They have no idea what they're doing.
What they're doing to themselves.
And I think if you are willing to sign that waiver and you're doing competitive bodybuilding and you actually, and dude, we know that there's a lot of people in the industry that are dying. Young guys, 28, 30. This one won the Olympia.
There's just like so many bodybuilders that I keep seeing dying at the moment. Like that Joey Aesthetics guy.
This is it. You know, and you can't say it's got nothing to do with PEDs.
Neil Curry, IFBB Pro, dead.
That's it, dead.
Yeah, and it's, so I mean, with like him, like a lot of his was down to depression, like where like the drugs had messed up his head, like his headspace and his like serotonin and his dopamine. That he was like depressed.
So suppressed.
The guy's in an unbelievable shape, looks incredible, but to him he had body dysmorphia. It didn't feel good.
I think that's where my commentary on don't do it actually stems from, because you know what, like, bro, it's very difficult for me to say, you know what, don't do PEDs and don't do drugs, and then there's me having a little cigarette in the background, right? Or me going and drinking on the weekends. Like, you know, each their own, but I think what it mentally did for me was why I would say don't do like any steroids, don't do drugs, because that, and I don't want to say this does it for everybody at the end of the day, but personally for me, it made me a very aggressive person, and it made me flip very quickly, or overlook things, or just jump to conclusions, or get really worked up really quickly and overanalyzing things. And you know, now I can sit back and say that was my truth, because I've been clean of anything for 8 years. I can look back and be like, whoa, okay, wow, that was a very intense part of your life. Definitely don't go back there. That was fucked up, you know, the way that you treated your girlfriend, the way that you would lose your temper and make her cry, and you know, so, but then at that time I was like, I'm youthful, look at me, I look amazing, I feel amazing, I'm bench pressing 180, like, you know what I mean, I can eat anything I want and wake up even leaner and more vascular and more dry and harder, and I'm more jacked, you know. But now I look at that. You
can't keep that forever though, right? That's the thing.
Well, dude, I stopped.
And that's the thing. You stop
15 kilos down.
Yeah. And
you see this.
You can't live on that constant high all the time of taking.
Well, there's some guys that say, I'm gonna take it until the day I die.
Yeah.
And well, there you go. You're 29 years old, 30 years old, and you fucking drop dead in a sauna.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I think it's like anything. Like, I'm a big believer. Like you mentioned, obviously, with like, you know, drink every now and then, have a cigarette. I'm like, I think in life you have to like pick your poison, right? Like you cannot live a life of being in someone's eyes 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Not drink alcohol, not have processed food, like not smoke, not do sunbeds. Like something has to give to have a good life. Like in my opinion, like I drink. I don't mind, like, you know, the weekends I'll drink. Like I don't do drugs, but like there's certain things that I think that, you know, it's fine to enjoy and do certain things in your life. You're healthy, you train fucking hard.
I do my
every
best,
single
bro.
day.
Yeah.
Like you know, you walk 10,000 steps every single day, most likely, right? You eat well, you train. So like for you to do some things that people might deem as being unhealthy, it's like it doesn't matter.
Can't please everyone,
you can't
bro.
please everyone.
Yeah.
Like you have to enjoy life and do what's right for you. It's like you're never going to be 100% healthy in every single realm possible of life.
Yeah.
Like something has to give you. Like look at someone like Andrew Tate, right? Like he is always smoking cigars all the time, but he's jacked, he's rich, he's in amazing shape.
Yeah.
Does he care? No.
No.
Of course he doesn't.
Literally. Yeah.
Shit like that, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
my
do.
opinion on it.
Yeah, I think as long as, look, it's never up to anyone else to judge at the end of the day, but I do believe that we should have high standards for ourselves, at least when it comes to ticking as many boxes as possible and not being one of those people to... I'm glad we don't have a lot more time left, because if I had to get into the idea of body positivity, I could spend a lot of fucking time there.
Yeah.
But the reality is
Grinds
that
my
you
bones.
can't convince yourself to a healthy body. You can't convince yourself to a healthy, a physiologically, anatomically healthy place and space, bro. Like that comes from doing the work.
Taking
that comes
action.
from intent.
100%.
You know, you can't say my body is healthy and then you're sitting there at fucking 30% body fat. And if you keep on going on that trajectory, two years from now, you're going to be on dialysis.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't talk yourself out of that.
Actions
you know?
speak louder than words.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm all for the physical, doing the hard work, you know, holding yourself to a higher standard at the end of the day, doing the do, and just, you know, I think even speaking about your goals to others is super important.
Setting them out there. It's more accountability, 100%.
Yeah.
Like we do photo shoots, you know, you're holding yourself accountable towards a date, you know, you wanting to go and do a shoot, telling me or you that your client's going to do a shoot.
Telling your friends, telling your family.
Your friends, publicly announcing it. Like, that's what you want to do. You want to make your goals public and actually hold yourself to a standard to make sure that you achieve them. Massive believer of that. That's why you get a coach, because then you've got the accountability that you need. Everyone needs accountability. That's why they signed up with us. It's the number one most important thing. That's why I don't believe that anything that's not one-to-one based for coaching will ever work, because clients need skin in the game and they need someone to answer to. And like if you have a group model or you have a fucking app or something, like it's just not going to give you the same buy-in. Whereas like you hire a coach to get the fucking job done. And like that's what people do. They buy into us to get the job done. So
and we get the job done.
And we get the job done.
That's
exactly.
It. Dude.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
So much, bro.
No worries. Thank you for jumping on
our
podcast.
It's our podcast.
Collab. What an epic collab.
Ladies and gents, thank you so much for taking the time to listen and watch in on today's episode. I think, Chris, maybe if you can just plug your little Instagram and 100%. YouTube and Facebook and all that jazz.
You definitely will put it in the episode notes, but Chris_FitLab is the best place to find me on Instagram. YouTube, I'll obviously link. I'm pretty sure my YouTube is like Chris Wright 1 or something like that. I'll definitely link it below. I should probably know that. But anyway, guys, hopefully you found this video useful. It's obviously like very raw today. If you've seen a bit more like authentic side of myself, Damian. If you watch this on YouTube, make sure you like this video. Okay, make sure you are subscribing and hit the bell notification every time you post. And if you're listening to on the podcast, drop me a 5-star review if you've enjoyed it. And guys, I'll catch you in the next episode.